So thank you very much, everybody, for joining. This meeting is about the demo of the Papyrus for information modeling that is being developed by Eclipse and CEA under a contract that was given by the Papyrus Industry Consortium. So the person who will be presenting is Philippe Langer from Eclipse, who's been leading this project so far. So Philippe, over to you. And since we're recording, I'll ask everybody to go on mute if you're not speaking. Thank you. And thanks, Philippe, for accepting to do this presentation.
Okay, I'm very happy about the opportunity to present you this project. So, as Francis said, my name is Philippe Langer. I work with Eclipse and together with CEA and especially Benoit Magui, we have been working on this project called Papyrus Information Modeling. Just one brief note: this is a demo of a pre-release, so it has not been officially released yet. More on the plans later, but we will probably release it in the end of June, right after Neon has been released. I was planning to give you really a brief overview on the context, so what's the background about this project, then briefly outline what we have done so far, but then see that we come as soon as possible to the demonstration of the current state and the current version that you can already download from Eclipse, and then talk about next steps that are planned so far. But then I would also really be happy about your feedback and your opinions about future directions of this project. So about the context, the objective of this project is building an information modeling product based on the Papyrus platform. So really use Papyrus as a platform for building modeling products. And the goal of this modeling product is to offer a streamlined information modeling modeling tool based on UML class diagrams. So it's really, it should remove everything that is not targeted at users who are interested in information modeling and really put in the focus the ease of use for Papyrus users, and especially for those users who are not familiar with Papyrus in the first place, so who start using Papyrus in a very easy and not steep learning curve. And that means we needed to reduce the complexity of the Eclipse UI itself. So if you know the Eclipse UI, it can be quite overwhelming in terms of toolbar items, menu items, and so on. So these should be reduced. And on the other hand, to also reduce the features that are offered by Papyrus itself and only focus on those that are relevant to information modeling. And as a side product, this project also illustrates the customizability of Papyrus and the Eclipse platform. So everyone who is interested in building a modeling product based on Papyrus and Eclipse may use the results of this product as well in terms of having an example of simplifying this platform to your respective needs. A few words on the project details. So as already mentioned, this project has been carried out or is currently being carried out by CEA and Eclipse Source. The project size is 36 developer days, so also please don't expect any miracles. It's not a lot of time to build a product, but still I think the results so far, we've spent roughly two-thirds of these developer days. The results so far are already quite representative on what you can do in not that much time to build a modeling product based on Papyrus and Eclipse. We started to work on this product mid-May, and we plan to finish this product at the end of June. So basically what we are doing now is collecting feedback from, for instance, you guys, but also others who had a look at it, and wait for the Neon release, and then do some testing, do some polishing, and then release it after Neon has been released based on it in the end of June. Also, as Francis already mentioned, this project is funded by the Papyrus Industrial Consortium, so we're very thankful about this opportunity to be able to work on that. All right, so a few words on things we've already have done so far. So the process roughly was that we had a few sample models from users of the domain of information modeling. So the first step was to identify the subset of UML that they have been actually using in these example models. And based on this subset, we then derived an implementation that limits the Papyrus capabilities and elements that you could, for instance, add in a certain context to this subset that we identified. This can be done in Papyrus with a so-called Papyrus viewpoint, and with that you can simplify the Papyrus user interfaces or interface components such as the palette, the properties views, the new child creation menus, and so forth. So that was one part of the work. The second part was also to simplify the Eclipse UI itself in terms of the toolbars that are available, the wizards, the menu actions, and so on. So really to only provide things in the toolbar and in the wizards and so on that are relevant for this use case. Next step was then to implement a specific diagram style based on Papyrus for information modeling, because not every when you don't include all modeling concepts that are available in UML, you will probably also want to optimize the diagram style to only show things that are relevant. And finally, we worked on documentation in terms of there is now an Eclipse wiki site which gives you the relevant information about Papyrus for information modeling, provides you the links where you can download it from. We introduced an easily importable example model. I will show you that in a second. And we work on we have created a getting started tutorial based on an Eclipse cheat sheet to help users to start working with Papyrus for information modeling, and improved things like the welcome page and things like that, which I will demo in a second. In this list, there are not all tasks that we actually did. Of course, there is a bunch of technical tasks that had to be done as well, but those are not really relevant in the terms of what you will see in the end. So these are tasks like setting up the continuous integration build, development infrastructure, creating the product configuration, target platform, and so on and so forth. All right, so before jumping right to the demo, what I would like to show you is just examples of these simplifications. I cannot really show you directly in the demo how these simplifications look like, because you will only in the demo see the simplified version. So just to give you a comparison to how it looked not simplified, I just prepared a few screenshots to give you an idea about that. So for instance, the simplifications in the Papyrus user interface concern the palette. As you know, the palette is the right hand side element where you can pick certain model elements and then place them in the diagram canvas. And since Papyrus supports all UML concepts, this palette is or can get quite overwhelming to new users. And in certain domains, you probably won't need all elements that are available in UML. So on the left-hand side, you see how it is, how the palette looks like without any customization. And on the right-hand side, you see that we only include those model elements that we also identified in this subset that is relevant to information modeling. The same also goes for the new child creation menu. So whenever you right-click an element in the model explorer on the left-hand side in the tool, you have the possibility to add new child to the currently selected model element. And of course, this is the same situation as for the palette. When all of UML is supported, then this selection is pretty overwhelming. So instead of showing everything, we decrease the number of elements to the really relevant ones in this menu to make it easier for users to use it. Sorry, was there a question?
No, cheers from the audience.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's about the new child creation menu. The same has been also done for within the diagram to reduce the modeling assistance and to improve the diagram style. So as you see here in this screenshot on the upper hand, that's the default theme and the default modeling assistance in Papyrus without any customization. So you see here, for instance, that there are a number of elements that you could add in the context of a class. And the class shows 3 compartments, one for attributes, one for operations, and so on. But in the context of information modeling, we only want the user to be able to add properties to classes So that's why we reduced on the one hand side the modeling assistance to only offer the creation of a property, and also we removed all the compartments in a class to only show the compartment for properties. The goal is really to avoid any confusion for users who want to create information models and not be concerned with anything that is not relevant to them. Last but not least, we also customized in the Papyrus user interface components the properties views. So basically the same story as for model elements, but this time for features of model elements in UML. So for instance, a UML class has a bunch of features that you can set in UML, but that are not relevant to information modeling. So in this example that I picked here, you can, for instance, specify whether a class is active or not, and this is not relevant to information modeling users. So Papyrus offers the possibility to specify custom property views, and this is exactly what we did. We reduced everything that is not relevant and rearranged the structure of the property view to make it more compact and only show the relevant parts. This was about the Papyrus user interfaces. Of course, there are also a lot of other user interface parts in Eclipse which might show more than really necessary. One example for that is wizards, for instance. So when you create the target platform, that's basically the combination of all plugins that you want to ship in a product that is relevant or needed for Papyrus, you end up with quite a number of wizards that show up when you want to, for instance, create a new project. So for instance, there is the whole Java project creation wizard area. There is even the plugin development creation area, and that's already all if you only choose those plugins that are really needed to build the product. So there is certainly the need to even more reduce the number of things that are available in this UI. And that's basically what we did. So we filtered everything out that is not either Papyrus or general use case, and that's basically the general project or the Papyrus project that is very relevant, as well as a project management model, which is an example for the Papyrus for information modeling product. There in this screen shot, you also see this create Papyrus table configuration file and create Papyrus table configuration project. This will also go away in one of the in 1 or 2 days, I guess, when we have removed that. This is just not filtered yet, but should go away as well. The same goes for toolbars. So we got a lot of feedback about Eclipse, that the toolbar in combination with Papyrus in Eclipse is quite overwhelming. So you probably, when you have used Papyrus, then you have seen the screenshot above here already, that there are a number of elements in this toolbar that don't even fit in one line. So that's definitely something that we wanted to improve. So what we did is we filtered out everything that is not relevant. So for instance, the toolbars here that is in the upper area about running and debugging Java programs or programs in general that are definitely not relevant to information modeling users. So we removed them, and the same goes for several other things in the toolbar. So our goal was to really achieve a toolbar that is that fits in one line and only contains relevant parts. And accordingly, we also reduced the number of perspectives that are visible to only Git, Papyrus resource, and team synchronization, which I will show you in the demo in a sec anyway. Right, that's about the brief overview of, to give you a context and an idea of what has been done so far. I would now switch to the demo. Let me just select this window. So that's basically Eclipse Papyrus information modeling, as you can download it from the wiki page, which I will give you in the end. So when you open it the first time, you will be welcomed with or you will be greeted with a welcome page, and we customized this welcome page in a way that it only shows you the things that are relevant to Papyrus for information modeling and that help you in getting started. So, for instance, there are three sections. There is this overview section, which basically contains links to documentation. There is this tutorial section, which contains currently one getting started tutorial, which I will show you in a second. And then there is this example section where you have one example model for Papyrus for information modeling that you can import in your workspace, and then look at, let's say, how the different ways you can structure your model, the different features of Papyrus that you can use, and so on. So let's look at the overview page. So here we basically just linked relevant documentation pages. So, for instance, the documentation about Papyrus in general. So what are the different parts of Papyrus, the different views, and so on. The second one is about profiles. Then we added also one about team support with Git, as this is also supported in this product, that you can version your models with Git, and a very general documentation about the workbench basics in terms of there is documentation about perspectives and views in general. In the tutorial part, there is two tutorials. There is one on information modeling, which I will show you in a second, and one on team support. And finally, there is the samples model, which you can import by just clicking here. I will do that also in a second. So let me just start with the Getting Started tutorial. As soon as you click here, you close the welcome page, and you get this welcome view here on the right-hand side, where you will be led through a tutorial based on a cheat sheet. I'm not sure if you're familiar with cheat sheets in Eclipse. Cheat sheets are a very easy and nice way to guide a user step by step through a short process to allow the user to get familiar with the environment. So they work the following. They have a bunch of sections, and in each section you have tasks, and for each task you can either invoke an action that is really executed in your Eclipse environment, or they just describe the next step in a textual form, which you can then tick off and say, okay, I've done that. So let us start with that. We just click here to begin, and then the first section opens. In this first section, we just introduced the environment in terms of what is the Papyrus perspective, what is the project explorer, which is this here on the left upper side, what is the model explorer, and so on. So when we say, okay, I've read that, and I've read that, then the cheat sheet automatically jumps to the next section, which is about creating a new Papyrus project. When there is an action that really can be executed in the environment, as I said before, there is also this play button here on the right-hand side that instead of really following the textual description, for instance, by right-clicking here and select New, Other, and so on, you can already also just directly click on the Start Project Wizard action, and then this action will automatically be executed. And you see also that the Getting Started tutorial cheat sheet follows the always active window, just to avoid people losing context. So let us create, following this cheat sheet, the example model. So we select UML as a language, then we select some name for the project, hit next, then it says we should select to create a diagram as a UML class diagram, and also select a UML model with basic primitive types. Just as a side note, we investigated if we can simplify, because we think it should simplify this last page, because in this configuration that we have right now, there is only one diagram type, and users would typically want also to include the basic primitive types, and there is no template that you can choose from, so it doesn't make sense to really show this user interface there. There is also some ways to customize that, but it would require to create a completely own wizard, which we didn't do so far, but which would definitely be an option for future evolutions. So once we click on Finish, then Papyrus for Information Modeling will create this project for us and open up the diagram editor. And I will now stop following this cheat sheet, but directly show you what you can do here. So basically, what you see here is the Papyrus for Information Modeling viewpoint. That's basically the customization of Papyrus, which only shows you the reduced number of elements that you can add in this to a diagram. The same also goes, as mentioned before, to the Model Explorer. So when I right-click here, there is this new child creation menu, which also only shows you the things that are relevant to Papyrus for information modeling, and the same goes for the relationships as well. So let's just create, to have a small example, a class person and a class company. And as you can see, we automatically use the theme that is optimized for, or the diagram style that is optimized for Papyrus for information modeling. So classes only have one compartment, and this compartment is for attributes in classes. And when I can now also hover over one of those elements, and I only see those things that I can really add in the context of Papyrus for information modeling, which is in this case just the property that I can add. So let's add a property name, primitive type string, and the cardinality is, everyone should have a name, so the cardinality is 1. Right. The same also goes for these assistants to create these relationships. So when I go here and create this relationship, I only see associations, dependencies, generalization, realization, and usage. That's the directed relationship types that we support. So let's create an association, for instance. Okay. Let's make it a little bit nicer. Okay. What else is there to show? The UML subset also includes general association classes, so we created those as well. We added those as well, and then what else to show? Yeah, maybe the properties view. So when you select a class and look at the properties view, you also see here the customized view for Papyrus for information modeling. That means there is no is active true or false, and the arrangement is a little bit optimized to spare some room in this properties view. All right, that's it, I think, from that part. So I can now also show you a little bit more by importing the example model that we've prepared. So you can either go back to the welcome page and import it from there, or you right-click in the Project Explorer and you can go to New Example. And here you will see the project management model example. You can click Next and Finish. And then the example model is imported into your workspace, and you can have a look at that. So we created this model with the goal to show the most useful features, at least in our point of view, most useful features that you can use in Papyrus in this context. So the first diagram that we introduced here is a package diagram, which only is an overview of all packages in this model. For each of those diagrams, we also added a small comment to explain the goals of this diagram and the specifics of it. So, for instance, that there is that these packages are imported, maybe also in other files, and so on and so forth. Then we give some hints to users that they can actually select one of those packages and double-click, and by double-clicking, switching to the two other diagrams. In this diagram, for instance, we illustrate the possibility to include other model elements that are not located in the same package as all the others, and that have a main diagram somewhere else. This is indicated also by this little arrow here, and that you can also double-click now on this class to follow to the main diagram that shows the context of this class user, for instance. Finally, there is also the diagram issue tracking, which is the largest of the example diagrams here. just now close this cheat sheet. And this shows you the more let's say advanced modeling concepts, such as the association classes here, that you can create enumerations, which then can be used in classes as an attribute type. You can also specify constraints that must be true for a certain context. And here again, we have imported some other model element, or a class that is where the main model element is basically on a different diagram in a different package. So we can again double click here, or should be able to start. Maybe I forgot to add the link here. I will do that later to go back to the main diagram where it's specified here. One other specific that we added to this example model is just to show that this is possible, is that you can import packages which are located in a completely different model. So in this case, we have in this project we have two physical models, let's call it like that. One is the project management model, which contains this diagram and these three packages. But there is also a second model which is imported and which contains, I can show it quickly, which contains a few basic data types. So for instance, date, period, estimate, unit, and so on, which can be imported in this model and then used as attribute types. And this is done with this package import of a different resource. So you can also navigate again to this other package. And for instance, here in this diagram, we see that the date data type, which is introduced in this other model, is used as a type of this property. Okay, that's about the example model, I guess. One feature or one capability that we also included in this product is the team support, which I already mentioned. So let me just show you quickly how that looks like. I will just delete this example model. You can go to Show View, Other, and open the Git repository and Git staging view. And in this workspace, I've already, just to make it quicker for the demo, already imported the Git repository, which contains one model. So I can now import this model from the Git repository into my workspace. Finish, and now I've got exactly the same model as I showed you before, or more or less the same model in terms, but now it is managed in the Git repository, so it's basically the same model. And since it's managed in a Git repository, I can, for instance, apply a few changes. So let's just add a property here and call this, I don't know, work item. Let's call it description. It should be of data type string, so it's primitive type string, and let's say the description is optional, so that can be 1 or 0 or 1. Oop. Oh, I have one bracket too many. Okay, so let's save that and do one other change. Yeah, let's just move this class a bit. And as we can see here, this project is managed in Git, and whenever we have a change on that project, we get this little marker here, which indicates also which files have been really changed. And now I can right-click on this file that I have changed and compare with the head revision. The head revision is the one that I have currently checked out. And when I do that, we immediately switch to the so-called synchronization view, where I see only the changed files, and now I can double-click on one of those files and see the actual model changes. So as we see here, there are, just open up all of them, there are a bunch of changes, and the first one is that I've actually changed the coordinates of this credential shape. The second one is that I've added the shape for this property in this diagram. And the third one is that I've added this property here in the model. So that's the real model change that I did. The only model change that I really did is to add the property to the class work item. And of course, this team support not only supports comparing with head revision, but also with other branches that may exist in the Git repository, as well as merging, rebasing, cherry picking, and so on. So you can also here open the history to see the history of this Git repository. And as you can see here, there are already 2 other branches that you can, for instance, merge. Okay. Yeah.
A question regarding how do you handle preferences? The instructions regarding the collaborative modeling states this about that you should set the recursive merge strategy and things like that. Is that handled by this setup, or how do you handle any preferences that should be set in a specific way?
Very good question. So we configured in this product automatically, or with a so-called customization preference customization file, all preferences that are needed, and the same is true for the necessary settings for Git, and that's basically to use the recursive model merge strategy from EMF compare and to allow models to participate in synchronization. So this is all pre-configured in this product already. So there should be no need to specify any preferences when you download it. Okay, I think that's about it from the demo. So let's go back to the slides and talk a bit about what we have planned to do next. So basically, there are 3 main
Before
parts
you do
that
that,
we want to.
I also have a quick question. You showed that I can add constraints to models in your demo. Will those constraints be translated into OCL, or how are they being stored in the model?
So far, these constraints are simply specified in the model. They are not validated in terms of that they, for instance, will be checked regarding OCL. So what we currently do is just to allow people specifying constraints, but you cannot really execute or check the validity of it, because typically I would say that, for instance, these constraints consider instances of these information models, for instance, that you create. And since we don't really represent instances, here we can't really directly use OCL. But if there is any validation feature that we could add, for instance, based on OCL, since there is OCL support in Papyrus, we would be happy to add them. Maybe best would be to have an example model and let us know what should be, for instance, validated in that context, and we could see if it would be easy to add.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Is there any other question about the demo or the tool itself before I go to back to the slides? Nope. Okay. I will have some questions at the end to you anyway, so we can then go through the discussion there in the last slide. So about the next steps, there are these 3 main topics that we plan to look at. So first of all is the finalization of the documentation and user guidance. So what we plan also to do is to provide the same getting started tutorial that you saw as a cheat sheet in the browser version, because some people prefer to read that in the browser, and because this also allows you to get an idea on how to get started without having the tool in front of you, just to get a quick overview, for instance. Then there is some work being done in the context of Papyrus to improve the general Papyrus documentation, and we will coordinate with the team working on that to then be able to link to the best adequate parts in the Papyrus documentation from the Papyrus information modeling product as well. And of course, we still need to announce this Papyrus product accordingly on the general Papyrus web page. That's also to be done. One other thing that is not listed here on the slides is we've received some feedback that it's not only interesting for people to get documentation about the Papyrus for information modeling itself, but rather about the process on how we created it. So basically to help users who are interested, or toolsmiths who are interested in creating products, modeling products based on Papyrus themselves, and who are interested in using, for instance, the same strategies that we used in Papyrus for information modeling to also simplify and develop their own products. So we will also start a documentation on that as well. And then, of course, once you use it, we'd be very thankful if you contribute back and incrementally extend this documentation. Aside from this documentation topic, there is this topic on improvements in the tool itself. So there is a couple of things that we would like to improve. I've also added a link here to the Bugzilla where we track all tasks that we identified to be done so far. So one example is to filter types not only in the palette and in the new creation menu, but also when you want to create a type from a property view. So currently Papyrus does not support that. I can quickly show you what I mean. Oops, with that. So for instance, when you click here on a property and you can specify in the property view of a property the type of it, and you can not only select one existing, which would be clicking on this button, but you can also create a new one. And this pop-up that opens here doesn't respect the filtering that has been applied, so you still see here all the model elements that are not relevant to Papyrus for information modeling use cases. So for instance, you see here that you can create actually a state machine or a signal, something like that. So that's just a deficiency in Papyrus regarding customizability that we plan to look at as well. Yeah, there are a bunch of other items also that we would like to look at. And finally, the last part is, since this is kind of the first small release, so it will probably not be a 1.0 at all, but it's the first release which mainly has the goal of being used, being tested, and getting feedback on what is missing. And that's actually what I would be very thankful if you could do. If you're interested in Papyrus for information modeling, then we would be very happy if you download it, test it, and let us know what else you would need us to include in this modeling product to make it useful for your context. I have a couple of questions about that in the end. Right, and that's already the end. So that there's basically the question. So what I would be really happy about is to get your feedback. That is on the one hand general feedback. What do you think about the product itself in terms of the ease of use? What things would you rather still want to exclude or include in the overall user interface? But also what is missing in terms of diagram types. Is the currently provided subset of UML elements adequate, or would other diagram types or model elements in the existing diagram type be necessary? Also regarding UML profiles, it would be very interesting to learn from real users which standard profiles in the area of information modeling would be interesting to also include there, or should it be rather, since no standard UML profiles are typically used, would it rather be more interesting to have an easy way to create and share custom profiles to be used in information modeling? Then also we would love to get feedback on import and export capabilities. Is there any import or export from or to other tools that you would like to have? What about exporting documentation? So should we include the support for GenDoc, for instance, to be able to generate the documentation from the information model? And last but not least, is there any requirement regarding code generation? So are there standard code generators that you would like to have? So for instance, to generate SQL statements for a database, or ontology export, or whatever, or is it better here to be flexible and provide a very easy way to create and share your own custom code generators for your information model? And those are basically the questions that I would be very happy to receive answers to. And also that's the information that I prepared so far, so I would be very happy to get your feedback either now directly, or if you want to think about it and come back to me later, feel free to always send a mail and contact me directly.